Hello there, everybody. My name is Joanna Mulgrew, and I'm the Managing Director here at HBXL. And I've spent the last 20 years of my life in construction software. And also, as a little bit of background, my father was a general builder of many hundreds of extensions. And later in his career, he undertook many housing developments as well, 5 to 10 house sites. And on a personal note, I have renovated 3 properties for profit. So I know a little bit about construction at the sharp end and actually building for profit. And today we're focusing in on preparing estimates that protect your profits. It's a really important subject right now because the impact of inflation and other costs on your margins are really quite high. So it's really important that we're preparing estimates that protect the profits that we're anticipating making. So to start with, profit starts with the right mindset. This is actually quite a challenge for a lot of people because they want to be booked up for the next 6, 9, 12 months ahead. It's a good feeling. You feel more relaxed knowing that you've got those jobs booked in, but they're not necessarily the right jobs. And actually having a lot of jobs on the go at the same time means that you're juggling a lot of plates and constantly firefighting. You're then forced into knee-jerk reactions and having to make decisions on the fly, which aren't necessarily in the profitable place that you'd prefer to be if you had more time to consider things. So what we try and encourage is being choosy about the jobs that you take on, making sure that the ones that you do dedicate your precious time to are profitable and that you get organised and protect the margins, the tight margins that are often made on projects. So you need to be thinking about running a business and not a building site. So that means having a tight grip on finances, some really good admin processes to slip things up. A plan for the future so that you know what are these jobs that you want to take on and to make sure that they are the right ones so that you can measure against your plan. And often it requires a good grasp of technology to bring a lot of these things together. Talking about this plan, a healthy business has a business plan. And I think if you thought back to when you started your company, it was about having some control of your own destiny, being your own boss, having the flexibility to work where and how you want. But what do you want now? Where do you want to be in 1 year's time, 5 years' time? Do you want to be off the tools? Do you want to be filling your pension? Do you want to be running a property development empire? What is it that you want? And you then need to start developing a business forecast for at least 12 months. If you can try, you could do it for, 24 to 36 months. But I know it's a challenge even to get a forecast for 12 months together. So at least do that so that you can measure all your fixed costs and your variable costs, get those all in together with the anticipated workload. Do you want 1 job on the go at a time? Do you want 2? What is it that you want to be doing? So get that all down into a plan. And if you're not sure where to start, on the HBXL website, you can download a business forecast spreadsheet template, so that you can start to populate that yourself. And it's really important, as I was saying, that you assess each and every job that you quote on. I know it's easy when you're time pressed or you've got pressures that you rely on experience, so your square metre prices that you carry in your head or spreadsheets that you've developed over time, which are possibly not updated the latest prices, and maybe you've got some formula errors in there. I read some awful statistic that something like 85% of spreadsheets have a formula error in them. So that could be a costly error in yours. You need to be making sure that you're including all your costs, as I was saying just now, not just your job costs, but all your fixed costs of running your business. And you need to be using the very latest prices with price inflation. And allow for everything. It's not just the basic job costs. You need to be allowing for wastage and wear and tear on equipment. I mean, who else is going to foot the bill for things that go walkies or get broken on site? Otherwise, it's going to come out of your pocket if you're not allocating that to each and every project that you take on. You need to be thinking about inflation and price rises, especially at the moment. And all indications are that inflation is going to carry on at pretty high levels till 2025. So it's not going anywhere going away soon. And you need to be thinking about those business overheads, as I say, the other costs of running your firm, and then, and only then, adding a decent profit margin on top. So is the job profitable enough? This is a really important question. Don't just take on a job just for the sake of it, to be filling the diary. You've got 48 or so precious weeks of your year to be making money. Are the jobs that you're doing worth that time and effort? You need to weigh up each and every job and make some informed decisions about whether or not you want that job and whether you're willing to submit the quote. And I have an example for you. I recently spoke to a customer who was weighing up doing quite a complex bungalow conversion, taking it from a 1-story to a 2-story, or a more straightforward extension. And on the face of it, he thought that the extension was quite a small project. It wasn't necessarily worth it. But he looked at both, and it transpired that with a smaller extension project, you get in and out and make a relatively risk-free margin compared to this bigger bungalow project, which carried a lot of risk. And actually, at the end of the day, he might not even make the margin that he would have done on the home extension. So weigh up those projects, which are the right ones to do. But I want to start with a closer look at inflation and an example for you. So if you weren't already aware, and I'm sure you are, that inflation on construction costs is at its highest in a generation, and it has risen a massive 20% year on year to July 21. I think materials inflation was 23% in August, September, I believe, year on year, and labour around 14%. So it really risks neutralising your profit if you don't allocate it in your initial quotation. Today's prices, stating the obvious, are out of date within a month or so. So what really matters is the job start date prices that you're quoting, not what things cost you today, but what's it going to cost you when you build in 6-9 months' time. Quick example. So materials costing £10,000 today will cost around £12,000 for a job starting in 12 months if inflation carries on at the same rate. So if you're buying materials over a lengthy job, say you're starting in 12 months' time, and then you've got a 12-month project, you've got even more cost inflation on top of that 12,000, which is quite scary, and it really does eat away at any margin that you would be making. So a bit more of a specific example. So we're looking at ordering some concrete. Quote produced mid-November. The actual order is going to be late in January. We've got 10 weeks gap between the two dates. So over the next few weeks, the price isn't probably going to change, but over the following couple of months, there's likely to be some rises. So we've got no change for the first few weeks, and then for 6 weeks, we've got some inflation. So we've got a formula here. You might want to jot it down, and I know that the FMB and our other partners will be sharing this presentation, but you can jot that down if you want. But that inflation over that time frame actually accounts for 2.3%. So our concrete example of, say, £1,000 in another 12 weeks time with 6 weeks inflation, so 10 weeks time with 6 weeks inflation is £23. So our new inflated price is 1,023. Now that's only on one item. You've got tens, if not hundreds of items in your estimate, in your quotations. So that will quickly add up. And it's worse if you've got projects that are starting much, much further out. So, for example, we're ordering in end of July. So we've got quite a long lead time on this project, which I know many of you watching will have. So the actual number of weeks between those two dates, the quote in November versus the ordering in July of next year, is 36 weeks. So again, we don't need to inflate the price for the first few weeks, but we've got around 32 weeks of inflation. So let's look at the impact of that. So over that 36 weeks, we've actually got 12.3% of inflation we need to add. So that £1,000 of initial quoted concrete will actually cost us £1,123. So that's £123 it's eaten into our margin. So again, if we add that to the hundreds of items in our project, we've probably got maybe a few £1,000s, if not more, of inflation that adds up. So all your margin will get eaten away. Another thing that eats away at your profitability is business overheads, and not really judging them properly. So what are our business overheads? Well, I know I'm stating the obvious, but let's have a look at a few of those. Wages, plans, petrol, your insurances, fees for your accountants, replacement equipment, replacing your phone, loan repayments. These are things that happen without you having a job. So you need to work out a whole year's cost of these and then divide them by about 48 weeks, because you are going to take several weeks off, I'm hoping, in the year. And then off that, you need to allocate the weekly overhead to the jobs that you take on. And if you've got, say, 2 or 3 jobs on the go at any one time, you can obviously divide those up over 2 or 3. But for simplicity's sake, I tend to run in my company a project at a time. So I'm going to take a 6-month project and add half of my annual overheads to it. And then on top of that, you put your markup on top. So you'll have a new quote figure. And if you're not sure, small construction companies, similar types of trades, have overheads around 15% of their turnover. So you need to always be adding on about 15% to your initial job costs to get an inclusive of overhead figure. And a lot of firms don't include that. If you don't allow it, then you're going to have to find that money from somewhere. So you're going to think you've made money, and then you've still got to take it out. You've got to take it out of your back pocket and fund it somehow. So again, that eats away at your profits. Another area, which might actually sound like I'm stating the obvious, but is your profit margin percentage, and making sure that your profits are accurately calculated, and also that you're charging the right amount. So are you adding enough profit? Well, you are if you have a pension pot, you have some cash in the bank to get you through wobbly periods of bad payers, or situation where you're in between payments from client and you've got suppliers chasing you. You've got enough profit if you're able to market your business properly too. And a lot of firms want the option to get off the tools, pay some people to do some of the work, the estimating and admin and what have you, and site management. And also you might want to take some office space and have enough money to be able to do so. Even if you do want to do all of those things, you've then got an improved year end if you costed the jobs to account for that. So think about, are you subsidizing the customer? Because you might be, if you actually have low overheads because you work from home and you don't have an office and there's just you and the van, and you're still on the tools and you manage the jobs as well. As I say, working from home, and maybe partners or family members help with the paperwork. You're actually quite, you've got low overheads compared to others, but just remember that bigger firms actually do have these higher overheads, and they are adding them to the quote, and they are still winning the work. So you might be missing the trick if you're not adding an overhead, even if it's slightly above what you're actually spending, because other firms are, and they are winning the work. So that's a bit of a sanity check. Should you be charging slightly higher overheads than you are? I wanted to take an example of a £140,000 job here, and I've added a profit markup, and interestingly, adding 11% to 140,000 actually gets you a margin of 10% through a quirk of maths. But say, for example, I add 11% to my job, my markup's 15.5, my sales price is 155.5, which is a 10% margin. If you say markup over sales price, that equals 10%. But if you added a 20% profit markup and you delivered 28,000, and with a sales price of 168,000, you could do half the work if you got the right client and the right projects delivered 28,000, rather than 2 projects of just the 11% markup. So have a think about the projects you're taking on and the clients that you're servicing, and whether you're running around, I wouldn't say being a busy fool, but running around doing a lot of hard work, delivering a lot of value to your clients where you are not on the receiving end of all of that value. So think about your markup. Don't chase overhead and turnover, not overhead, and but chase the markup and the right clients that are going to deliver you a higher markup. So in summary, be choosy about your customers and the jobs that you go after. So stating the obvious, costing accurately, allowing for inflation and overheads will establish a certain level of profitability, but it's no guarantee of profit. You have to manage the job, and your profit actually comes from a lot of the effective management of the job, and you could lose it or make it through the quality of your management. If you end up having to panic buy, I heard the other day of 2 directors that had to go driving around to 5 suppliers to buy the last of some paving slabs, I think, to finish a job for a client that they weren't going to get paid for by the client if they didn't finish the job. And they wasted an entire day finding a fairly small number of slabs. So ordering effectively in the first place, and also avoiding material delays by ordering in advance, working in partnership with your suppliers to make sure that they have what you need to build your building projects. Avoid plant hire extensions by sticking to program as far as possible. I know it's a bit of a joke that build programs never go to plan, but really try hard to ensure that you do. Make sure that you don't have extra people hanging around on site that you don't need in terms, because of materials delays or plant delays and what have you. So being organised, and that involves things like analysing your costs, making sure that you know where you can negotiate on the big items with your suppliers, having an order schedule with order by dates and just-in-time delivery dates, so you know what you need and when. Same for plant, your labour and your subcontract. Have stage payment profiles so that you know what's going out to your suppliers and what you need to be getting in from your clients, so you're not overexposed to cash flow risk. And that leads me neatly into having a profit and cash flow forecast that you can follow for each project. That's really important. And to get your hands on that information, a square metre rate and spreadsheet won't give it you. You need some good estimating and management software. Good estimating software helps you manage the project as well as price it in the first instance. So use technology to improve your profitability, and it's possible. You can do it. Many thousands of firms are doing it. And if you haven't already, you need to have a think about that. Because good estimating software comes with tools for the latest materials prices. It downloads latest prices into the software, so you're quoting with the latest prices. It calculates wastage and wear and tear. It also allows you to add on your overheads to the project, calculates the inflated costs over time, and then adds your profit margin and gives you a fabulous looking quote out the back of it. It also, through its fast but accurate approaches to estimating, allows you to estimate lots of different jobs as they come in to make sure that the jobs that you do go after are the profitable ones. So you might get 3 jobs in a week, you can price them all, and you can choose the one that you really think is going to make you a good margin, and only then go after that 1 or 2 which are really worth your efforts. Also, good estimating software will include things like a build program, and changes will then cascade. So as your build program does slip and slide, and hopefully you can bring it back on track to avoid those plant extensions and labour delays and what have you. But the build program is plugged into lead times, and all your reports, such as material schedules, plant and labour, will be plugged into that, as well as your profit and cash flow forecasts. So in summary, you need to protect your profits by costing accurately, including inflation, your wear and tear, your wastage, your overheads, and then your profit. Try and put in place contracts which allow some flexibility with your customer, perhaps to re-quote closer to the project start time, and Contracts Expert, in conjunction with Estimator Express, our software, together give you that power and manage the job well. So I'll finish by saying that our software Estimator Express can help you with all of those things. There's our URL, hbxl.co.uk, and you can ask for a demonstration of Estimator Express, our market-leading estimating software, and our team would be more than happy to give you a demo of the software. So thank you for your time today. I'll sign off, but it's been great talking to you today. Thank you.